औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। मैं अपने YouTube चैनल फॉर्चून एजुकेशन पर अपने तमाम मुअज़्ज़िज़ दोस्तों को, बहनों भाइयों को, छोटे बड़े तमाम ऑडियंस को खुशामदीद कहता हूँ। आज जो टॉपिक आपकी खिदमत में लेके आया हूँ वो जैसा कि स्क्रीन पे आपको दिखाई दे रहा है, एरिस्टोटल एंड थ्योरी ऑफ परसुएशन। एरिस्टोटल है कौन, इसने किन डिसिप्लिन्स पे काम किया और इसकी थ्योरी ऑफ परसुएशन है क्या। इस थ्योरी ऑफ परसुएशन का छोटा सा आइडिया मैं आपको दे दूँ। थ्योरी ऑफ परसुएशन आपको बेसिकली में ये बताती है कि जी हाउ टू कन्विंस पीपल. It is very important that at times everyone needs to convince somebody. So this theory, if you really want to know how to convince people, then you need to watch this video till the end. All right. Aristotle, he was a Greek philosopher and sociologist. He was working as a preacher, he was working as a teacher, he was working as a socialist, and he was also working as a philosopher. All right. He was born in 484 BC. BC is for before Christ, and he was died 322 before Christ. All right. The biggest framework of Christian and Islamic philosophy. He was one of the biggest frameworks of Christianity and Islamic philosophy. All right. Aristotle's intellectual range was very vast. He worked in different disciplines, like he worked on biology, he worked in metaphysics, he worked on botany and rhetoric, and then he worked on chemistry and philosophy of mind. Then he worked on ethics or philosophy of science. Then he worked history, philosophy of physics. Then he worked on logic, and then poetics, then practical theory, and then zoology. All right, these were the few disciplines on which he worked in detail. Aristotle, what was the life of Aristotle? Aristotle was born in Chalcidice Peninsula of Macedonia in North Greece, and his father Nicomachus was the physician of Amytas III. Amytas III was the king of Macedonia, and then the grandfather of Alexander the Great. All right. He was migrated to Athens after his father's death and joined Plato's academy, where he spent 20 years. We got to know that he was a student of Plato, and he spent 20 years there in his academy. Plato died in 348 before Christ, and his nephew Sapius became head of the academy. Aristotle, after the death of Plato, he left the Athens and migrated to Assos, that is Turkey, where Hermias was a graduate of the same academy where he was there, and he was a ruler there. Hermias was the ruler. Aristotle became close friend to Hermias and eventually married his ward Pythias. Aristotle helped Hermias to negotiate an alliance with Macedonia, because there was a clash between Macedonia and then Assos. So Aristotle has really helped Hermias to negotiate an alliance with Macedonia. All right. This resultantly, his angered Persian king, he arrested Hermias and put him into jail, and then he was put to death in 341. Aristotle saluted his memory in the only lasting poem, Ode to Virtue. In 343, Aristotle was summoned. Aristotle was called by Philip II of Macedonia at capital Patala to act as tutor to Philip's 13 years old son, the Peter Alexander the Great. Yes, he was called by Philip II, who was the king of Macedonia, and to teach her son Philip's 13, who was later called as Alexander the Great. He immediately accepted his offer and became the teacher of the Alexander the Great. And then there's the discussion of Lyceum. While Alexander was conquering Asia, Aristotle was now 50 years old in Athens, established his own school in gymnasium known as the known as Lyceum. He gathered books, made library, and he made brilliant students. Alright, Lyceum and its division. How Lyceum is being divided? Lyceum is being divided into three kinds: the productive, that includes engineering, architecture, and medicine. And then we have is practical, that is ethics and politics. And then we have is theoretical, that is information and understanding are sought for their own sake. Then we have is yes, famous some of the famous quotations from Aristotle. Let's suppose soul has imprisoned in the body as capable of happier life only when body has been left behind. The dead are more blessed and happier than the living. Wow, what a line. The dead are more blessed and happier than the living, and to die is to return to one's real home. Perfectly right. God made human beings and gave them godlike intellect, and all else, strength, beauty, and power, honor is worthless. These are some of his famous quotations by Aristotle. Alright, yes. Now we are just going to begin with the main topic, that is Aristotle's theory of persuasion. We are just going to know in the beginning what is theory in fact. A set of assumptions. What is theory? Theory is a set of beliefs, a set of assumptions or propositions or accepted facts that attempt to provide a plausible means or rational explanation of cause and effect relationships among a group of observed phenomena. Alright, this was theory. Theory is basically a set of accepted beliefs or facts or assumptions is called theory. And what is persuasion? Persuasion is the action or the process of persuading someone or of being persuaded to do or believe or something. Persuasion is in fact the action or the process of persuading someone. A belief, it is also called, it is a belief or set of beliefs, especially religious or political ones. The first definition is quite relevant to a topic, so you need to just focus on that. How to, the action or process of persuading someone. Persuading, it means convincing. How to convince someone or how to convince people. Alright, this theory was given, and this particular theory has three basic elements. The very first is called ethos, as it is already clearly written on the screen. Ethos. The second is called pathos, and the last one is called logos. We're just going to discuss what is ethos. Ethos is when an argument is constructed based on the ethics or credibility of the person making the argument, or many advertisements and political speeches make use of ethos, attempting to convince readers or listener of the credibility of the candidate or of someone in the advertisement. Ethos. What is ethos? Ethos, if you really want to know this particular topic, that is ethos, so you need to understand ethos is convincing people by telling your own ability or your own yes, convincing people by telling your own credibility is called ethos. For example, we are just going to see the examples. A commercial about a specific brand of toothpaste says that 4 out of 5 dentists use it. So, can you see that a commercial that is certainly played on TV? So, a specific brand of toothpaste says that 4 out of 5 dentists use it, so you should use it. Or a makeup commercial features beautiful, famous women who use this makeup appealing to the viewer because if these women use it, it must be a good product. Alright. The next is, as a doctor, I am qualified to tell you that this course of treatment will likely generate the best results. These are examples. Alright. Next we have is doctors all over the world recommend this type of treatment. These are certainly phrases, such are certainly some sentences which are being used by the doctors. Alright. The next, if you're still unsure, please consider that my advanced degree and field work speak for themselves. Another phrase to convince people. If his years as a soldier taught him anything, it's that a caution is the best policy in this sort of situation. Pathos. Pathos is convincing people, a quality that evokes pity or sadness is called pathos. Pathos is convincing somebody using emotions, or we can also say that pathos is emotional blackmailing. Pathos is indeed a quality of an experience in life or a work of art that stirs up emotion of pity, sympathy, and sorrow. Pathos can be expressed through words, pictures, or even with gestures of the body. Pathos is a matter of convincing people with an argument down arrow through emotional response. So if you really want to know about pathos, so you just need to know that pathos is emotional blackmailing, convincing people by using his or her emotion or by emotionally blackmailing. For example, a teenager tries to convince his parents to buy him a new car as the old one continually breaks down by saying if they care about their children's safety, they had or they would upgrade him. Alright. The next we have is charity organizations such as Save the Children and World Vision depict images of starving orphans living in dire conditions who need your help with monthly financial support. You can say that there are, I mean, some NGOs working for, the refugees or for the orphan children or for those handicapped children or those old people who are kept there in the old homes. They can just post their pictures just to convince you to for for your financial assistance or for donation. All right, Lagos, the last one. Logos is a Greek word which means logic. It is a literary device that can be defined as a statement, sentence, or argument used to convince or persuade the targeted audience by implying a reason or logic. In everyday life, arguments depend upon pathos and ethos beside logos. Alright. For example, all men are mortal. So Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. The second example, you won't find any deer along this road in 25 years of driving the same route. I haven't seen a single one. Alright, these were some examples from Lagos. I believe that the lecture you found was really interesting, and I believe that you might have enjoyed this, or you might have got some information about Aristotle and his theory. So we are just going to talk about further things inshallah in the next or the upcoming lecture. Hope to see you all again in next video. Thank you very much. God bless everyone. Alright, Allah Hafiz. See you in next video.